Welcome to a I'm not going to say it this time. Welcome to a very special episode of the San Antonio FC Fancast. I'm your host Royce. We have some special guests tonight with us, and we're going to be talking all things US soccer for the upcoming January camp game here in San Antonio at Toyota Field. Surprisingly enough, very excited about that. With us, let's go from left to right. We have our usual partner in crime, Harry. Harry, how are you?
Doing well. Excited to talk U.S. men's national team. Get a little bit of education because I support them, but I don't support them if they're there just because I had went through a difficult relationship with U.S. soccer for a period of time and kind of took a step back. But since they brought it back to San Antonio, I'm back in. Matt, how are you?
Great, man. I haven't been on the show in a while, so why not? Not my usual colors, but
What do you mean? You're MLS Matt, dude.
hey, it is what it is, man. Gotta support it no matter what. It's a big look for San Antonio, so can't complain. Is Royce there?
Apologies, having some mic issues here. With us as well, introduce Matt. Matt, how are you? And we also have Renee. Renee with Barra 76, San Antonio. You want to talk a little bit about your group, introduce yourself, and how are you, Renee?
Doing pretty good, man. Thanks for having me. And good to see all of y'all, Harry, Matt, Royce, Robert. Basically, we're Bada 76. We're kind of new in terms of the last couple of years, since 2020, getting ourselves organized pretty much as a grassroots organization. Basically starting from the ground up, basically putting together a more Hispanic-based type community, although we welcome all. Our San Antonio motto is Sangre lo que sea, corazón americano. So basically, no matter what blood you are, it's American heart. So that's basically us. Former president with American Outlaws decided to go another route with the U.S. men's national team and the supporting them. Decided to get a little bit more involved in the community, try to see if we could spread more love in the Hispanic markets because it's out there. And so that's basically me. So thanks for having me, guys. Appreciate it.
Very cool. Thanks for that, Renee. And with us as well is Robert Cassiano, who is the president of American Outlaws, which is the premier U.S. soccer. That's men's national team, women's national team, youth national teams, the supporters group. Robert, how are you? And you want to say a little bit about American Outlaws?
Yeah, doing great. Thanks again, guys, for having us along. Everybody, I know I've met everyone in here once or twice, and maybe others, obviously more than that. But just obviously, just coming on to talk U.S. soccer. I mean, I am the president of AO San Antonio. Actually transitioned after Renee, and me and Renee have known each other for a while. So it's something that the local chapter of the American Outlaws, which is a national supporters group. So just looking to just continue on the chapter in the community and just bringing more light to soccer within San Antonio and just helping to grow the sport more within the city in every aspect.
Awesome, man. And full disclosure, I am a member of AO. Been a member of AO for a while. Going back to actually 2015. So let's all put our time machines on and
you're old.
Yeah, exactly. So let's go back, I guess, 9 years, April of 2015. By a show of hands, how many were at the Alamo Dome on April 15th, 2015?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
Yeah, you can't see my hand, it's raised. But that was an incredible event. We'll talk about a little bit of history with U.S. men's national team in San Antonio, and I believe the only other game that the U.S. men's national team has played here in San Antonio. Correct me if I'm wrong, Robert or Renee. Was that 2015 match in the Alamo Dome against Mexico, which ended up in a classic 2-0 scoreline, which couldn't have ended better from my standpoint. Robert, were you there? You did raise your hand, correct? What was your favorite? What was your favorite memory from that night?
So it was just kind of seeing the atmosphere and seeing as basically a sold out Alamo Dome with a very very much I would say it was like 80-20 split between Mexico fans and U.S. fans. But it was also just it was an exciting time because we were coming off of the World Cup the year before. So there was definitely some new faces being brought in, and that was a game. Just looking at the roster, that there were some new faces for me. That was interesting to see, and obviously you had you guys that now you look back and see they're kind of perennial MLS guys, but also guys who kind of made a lot of appearances for the national team. So I mean, in that game, I mean, you had. It was Jordan Morris's first cap for the United States, and he ended up scoring on his first goal. And subsequently, you even have a San Antonio connection now that was in that game with Juan Agudelo scoring the second, who's now a SAFC player. So in that 2-0, so it's just again, it was a great time, and just seeing a new roster and slew of players coming into the mix.
Absolutely. I think you hit all the highlights there. I think the only thing you didn't cover was leaving the game and just screaming 2-0 until you lost your voice outside. Renee, what do you remember from that night? What was your favorite memory?
Well, shoot. I mean, I didn't really have high hopes for Jordan Morris coming into the game late in the game. But I mean, man, what a game to win. What a game to somewhat be in the history books on a 2-0. It's not like an official game per se, but when you have two teams, two big, I guess, countries like the U.S. versus Mexico, one of the largest rivalries, ever. I think it had everything. I think Robert, said it himself. The fan base. For me, it felt like it was. At some points, it looks like it was an all USA kind of base situation. Then all of a sudden, it looked like it turned on us. And then at the end, like the place erupted, which is pretty amazing. I'm glad I was there. I'm glad I was able to support the team that day. But honestly, man, that goes down as one of our favorites. Just everything about it. The night before, all the things that happened that day, the crowds, the fans. And it was kind of one of those games where we, it put San Antonio on the map. We're still a small market, but there's no messing around when it comes to U.S. soccer or that level of soccer in San Antonio. It's there. So hopefully we can do it again this year and bring more games to San Antonio. See what happens.
Yeah, we won't have 65,000 strong in the dome like there was at that game. I remember it being incredibly loud.
Yeah.
Just every moment just was deafening in the Alamo Dome, and hopefully we can get Toyota Field while it's an eighth the size. Hopefully we can get a good atmosphere going. Matt, what do you remember about that night? I believe you were probably not wearing red, white, and blue that night.
I could guarantee that.
Oh, we lost you.
I believe you're on mute. Yeah.
My bad.
That's the button. That's the important one. Typical Mexico fan. Continue.
Really? No, I mean, one of my buddies, I remember that day, they made us custom. It was like half and half Mexico, U.S. jerseys. That's when I supported both at the time. But man, I remember just leaving there and trying not to get into a fight. Like it's crazy. Typical 19-year-old man just leaving the dome, just trying not to get into a fight.
Yeah, that checks out. Yeah, yelling.
So nothing's changed, Matt. Nothing's changed.
Pretty
Of
much.
course, nothing's changed.
Yeah, yelling. Dos Acero. There were some aggressive reactions to that, but I do it again. It was pretty great, and I think everybody covered the important parts. Jordan Morris having his very first cap, his very first goal. Juan Agudelo, who now is a part of San Antonio FC history, and that kind of connecting in the end. It's a pretty special moment, and I think we'll make some pretty good memories as well. Coming up here this weekend on Saturday, Robert, fire away.
Just to touch base, this is actually going to be the third U.S. game in San Antonio.
Thank you. I was afraid of that. Go ahead, please.
Yeah, the first game was before Matt was even born. Legit. It's before you're born. I mean,
so 2005.
Dang.
way older than that. It was the U.S. played Costa Rica here and beat them 1-0 back in 1988. And that was a game played out at Northeast Stadium.
I was 1 year old. Sure.
So you're saying I should have brought Mike Check and Ginny Check on for the show here.
The historians themselves. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was not I wasn't in Texas at that point. So yeah. So good on you for checking me on that one. Thank you. I was afraid I was putting my foot in my mouth, and that's exactly what I did. So let's move on from that point, and let's talk about the players that got called into the camp that will actually be at the game. And just a recap, the game is going to be Saturday, January 20th, 2024 at Toyota Field, which has a maximum capacity of 8,500. From what I remember trying to buy tickets, it sold out in about 2 minutes. So the demand's definitely there. Rafa's in here supporting Slovenia. Name one player from Slovenia, Rafa, without Googling them. Thank you. Good night. Hope you're doing all right, Rafa. So let's go through this roster. Robert or Renee or Matt or Harry, if I come across a player that you want to touch on or that is familiar to you, just let me know. I have a few notes from some of the players, and I'll just kind of go through them. So the 3 goalkeepers I got called in the camp are Drake Callender, who is the starting goalkeeper for Inter Miami. He may not be the starting goalkeeper for too much longer, as we kind of touched. Or actually, you know what? We talked about that before the show. Rumor has it that Inter Miami is looking to bring in former Man United and I believe Barcelona goalkeeper David De Gea. They're looking to bring him in. So, yeah. And regular San Antonio FC Fancast contributor Robert has reported Rafa to the proper authorities for that terrible comment supporting Slovenia. We like to have fun here. So, getting back to the point, Drake Callender's called in goalkeeper. He is the number 1 with Miami. May not be too much longer. The second goalkeeper called in was Roman Celentano, who was a starting goalkeeper for FC Cincinnati, who went pretty far in the MLS playoffs, did pretty well, and he'll be looking to kind of show the U.S. staff. We all know goalkeeping is definitely one of those what have you done for me lately positions. It's definitely a form kind of position. So everybody's always looking for the next backup. I mean, 1 or 2 years ago, the hot name was Zach Steffen, and then Zach Steffen can't hold down a starting job, so then it's Matt Turner all of a sudden. Ethan Horvath won the was that the gold? No, it wasn't the Gold Cup. That was the Champions League or the
Nations League.
Nations
Yeah,
League. Thank
Nations
you.
League,
That's
Hey,
the
Royce,
word. Yes, sir.
You forgot the starter, Patrick Schulte.
Correct. Correct.
Former,
I wanted to hit. Hold on. I know. I wanted to hit. I have some more stuff to talk about Patrick.
oh, okay. Okay.
So who I think is going to start, way to jump the gun, is going to be Patrick Schulte. Patrick Schulte is from St. Charles, Missouri, a fellow show me like myself. He's the starting goalkeeper for the Columbus Crew. He is the 2023 MLS Cup champion. He also was called into late last season's U.S. Olympic team camp. There are actually 10 players on this roster that are most likely going to be a part of the U.S. Olympic team actually later this year in 2024. So those guys you'll be able to watch them on an international stage later. So that'll be pretty exciting. But Patrick Schulte, what he's special to us out of this group is he came up through the St. Louis FC Academy, RIP St. Louis FC, and he was named to the St. Louis FC roster, but he got 0 USL minutes with the USL team. I'm going to go through this roster. I'm going to talk about the players' connections with the USL, since this is a USL podcast, and just some quick hits and notes. But I do think Patrick is going to be the starter, just because he is going to be on the Olympic team, and there's definitely going to be some eyes on him as his form is going to show if he stays on the roster for the summer.
I actually think Celentano is going to start.
Okay.
I think he's going to start just because when you compare him, now keep in mind, you have a guy like Drake Callender who he was just in the senior team camp a couple months ago for the friendlies in September against Oman and Uzbekistan. Obviously didn't play in them, but he's been around the senior team. I think Celentano has also he was actually in the same camp last year when they played Serbia and Colombia. I just think Celentano will start the game. They're more than likely going to play two guys, so I'm not surprised you'd see Celentano play the first half and then Schulte play the second half. I just think Celentano will get the start because of the fact that he's a little bit more polished in the sense that he has more MLS game action under his belt. I think both of them are great young keepers. I mean, they were both drafted very highly in the same draft. I mean, Celentano went number 2, and that was the highest a goalkeeper has been drafted since Andre Blake in 2014. And then Schulte, I believe, went number 12. So, I mean, obviously, they're both very great talents. I just think Celentano slightly gets the nod, and based on my starting projection.
That's a fair point. That's absolutely fair. And I think later on, after we go through the roster real quick, we will go through who we think is going to be our starting 11. So start thinking about that. And
hey, Royce, out of these 3 goalkeepers, obviously these are all young kids, typically trying to be able to get a spot on the first team for that, because this is what probably Team C, I think most would say.
Well, also you have to remember, Harry, that this year for the U.S. men's, there's going to be Camp Cupcake, which this is Camp Cupcake. Later in March is going to be Nations League. There's also going to be Gold Cup later. Copa America is going to be next season, and the Olympics are also going to be this summer. So there's going to be a lot of roster spots to fill. It's not just going to be the same players there. There's going to be a lot of eyes on this camp for possibly future spots at different tournaments.
But my question's more for the World Cup. Could you see any of these? Because when you look at the roster, people are like, hey, there's not a big names on here, but out of the 3 goalkeepers, could you see one of them be the third goalkeeper? Because obviously Turner is at least as we speak right now is number 1. Could you see any of the goalkeepers in camp here possibly make a run for the World Cup roster?
It's very possible. I'm not going to say no. I mean, if we look down this roster, Shaq Moore is in this camp, and Shaq Moore was at the last World Cup.
Right.
So it's definitely possible that somebody comes in and really just shows out and really shows what they has a good camp, goes into the MLS season strong, and really shows out and really makes a name for themselves. There's absolutely that chance in this camp. So let's continue on. Those are the three goalkeepers. Let's go to the defenders that are going to be in this camp. The first one there is going to be Nathan Harriel. Nathan Harriel is a right back for the Philadelphia Union. He was also in the U.S. men's Olympic team camp. So you'll probably see him on Peacock, NBC, all those channels later this summer. And he has a USL connection. He played for the Bethlehem Steel, RIP, the Bethlehem Steel back in the day. We also have DeJuan Jones, who's a left back for the New England Revs. He's kind of been he's a veteran player. He's been a USMNT. I've seen his name on a few rosters. And then the last one I'm going to hit on real quick before we take a go around the horn is Shaq Moore, like we talked about, right back for Nashville. Shaq Moore's kind of been around. I know he played for some Liga B teams in Spain. But Shaq Moore has a special connection with SAFC because last season in the US Open Cup match that San Antonio FC was eliminated from, Shaq Moore ended up subbing into that match and got some minutes against SAFC. So that's kind of cool. And he was also on the 2022 US men's national team World Cup squad. Any of those names familiar to you guys, or anything you want to point out with Nathan Harriel, DeJuan Jones, or Shaq Moore?
DeJuan Jones was just recently in the last summer's Gold Cup squad, so that's why he seems a little bit more recent and of memory. So he does have experience. I mean, Shaq Moore, obviously, out of the group of those three, is the more experienced player. Specifically, Greg Berhalter, in the press conference he had here in San Antonio, mentioned Shaq Moore by name as being somebody that they brought in, not necessarily for this camp, but more or less as kind of another look at him, because of the fact in March, right back is potentially going to be a position of need because of Serginho Dest's recent red card in the last Trinidad and Tobago game, which is going to have him out. So Berhalter mentioned that as specifically a reason why he was called in, just so they can take another look and see if he's potentially going to be a stopgap for that camp in March.
That's a great point to go on. And at the same rate, that's why this roster is heavy in fullbacks. You have a lot of right backs, you have a lot of left backs. And for that same reason is Des is going to be suspended. Obviously, we're always, and Harry, you asked, will one of these goalkeepers be in possibly the 2026 World Cup squad? I think the most likely set of players that'll be in that 2026 World Cup squad for the U.S. is going to be a fullback, whether it's going to be one of the right backs or one of the left backs. Left back has historically been one of the, I don't want to say weakest, but less deep positions for the U.S. Men's national team in recent history. We've been pretty lucky with Jedi Robinson coming up. Before that, we had Serginho Dest playing as a left back, which he's a natural right back. Before that was Fabian Johnson, who's normally a right-sided player. He was playing, or he's a left-wing attacker. He was playing left back for us. And so we've kind of had to fill in players that, that wasn't necessarily their strongest position, but if they could play it well enough, that's where they were. I mean, in the 2014 World Cup in Brazil, Fabian Johnson was there. And if we would have gone to 2018, Fabian Johnson probably would have been the left back as well, the World Cup in Russia. So left back has always been kind of thin. So we have quite a few left backs here in this squad. I believe we have 3 of them. So we'll we'll cover the other two. We've already covered DeJuan Jones here. So let's continue. Let's go through the center backs, and then we'll go through the fullbacks to finish up. So we have 5 center backs in the squad. There's Ian Murphy. Ian Murphy is with FC Cincinnati. We have Jackson Reagan, who's a center back with the Seattle Sounders. His USL connection, he played for Tacoma Defiance. He did not play against SAFC, though. Another center back is a USMNT regular pictured there on the roster, Miles Robinson. It'll be pretty exciting to see him in town. The only reason he was not at the 2022 World Cup in that squad is because he had an ACL injury, and I believe it ACL or was it Achilles? Either one. He had a pretty devastating injury that kind of knocked him out of the roster, unfortunately. But he has been a national team regular for a while. He just signed a new contract with FC Cincinnati, and he has USL time with Atlanta United 2 and the Charleston Battery. So that's pretty cool. We also have Nkosi Tafari, center back with FC Dallas. His USL connection is with North Texas in League One. And the last center back is James Sands. James Sands is pretty cool to come up. He is a very familiar name. James Sands now plays for New York City FC, but before that he was with New York City FC prior as well. But he made a move to a Scottish side, Glasgow Rangers, where he won a Scottish Cup, and he also played in the UEFA Champions League. So that's pretty cool. And James Sands, fun fact, 2018 USL champion with the Louisville City Purple People Eaters. So pretty cool little connection there with USL. And then to go with the other fullbacks we have, we've already gone through Nathan Harriel, right back, Shaq Moore, right back. Those are the 2 right backs that are in the squad. Left backs, we have 3 of them. DeJuan Jones, we've covered already. John Tolkien, who's a left back for New York Red Bulls. John Tolkien is also going to be in the Olympic squad, so another player to watch out for the summer. He played his USL ball with New York Red Bulls too. And Caleb Wiley. Caleb Wiley is a name that I've heard quite a bit. Whether that I'm not sure if he's been on a USMNT squad or if that's just an old Total Soccer Show scouting guy that somebody scouted. But Caleb Wiley's a left back for Atlanta United, and he played his USL ball with Atlanta United too. Any other players jump out from those defenders for you, Robert, or you, Renee?
I like to see Shaq, man. I want to see him more. I want to see. I'd like to see maybe some Tafari in there. But my biggest thing, man, is the outside backs. We need to get up into those gaps. You know, let the wingers play out wide. Bring in the two backs to kind of tuck in with the midfielders. I think that's where Shaq played a little bit in the last couple of games, and so yeah, man, if we can get more of him involved and bring up the 2 outside backs, I think. I think also the biggest thing for us is transition. I don't know, man. Compared to the rest of the world, we still need to work on our dynamics and playing out of the back and being a presence. Not so much playing out of the back in terms of like the way Berthalter plays. I think Berthalter kind of forces the concept of it, and not buying into the mindset of the players, understanding how to play with a purpose. And be more fluid. So that's just my perspective, and I think a lot has to do with the backs, the right and left backs. Those are 2 important positions that I think a lot of coaches leave out.
Yeah, and on our on the normal national team with Jedi Robinson and Serginho Dest, we definitely have very dynamic wingers that like to overlap and get forward quite a bit. So it'll be interesting to see these 5 gentlemen take that role and see where they can take it and see how comfortable they are doing that. So, Robert, you have any notes on the defenders on this roster?
Yeah. So for a roster note, Jackson Reagan actually just departed camp. I think it was yesterday. Had picked up a knock knee, but also Miles was an Achilles. It was an Achilles injury that he had.
I knew it was an A, and then I said ACL, and I thought about it, and I was like, I think it was Achilles. Yep. Either way, glad he's back though.
So for me, like Token and Wiley, I think that's going to be an interesting battle in terms of the camp and how they go against each other, because both of them actually had very good seasons respectively with their clubs. Wiley actually made an appearance there was an April friendly against Mexico in Phoenix. He came on. I mean, it was kind of like a brief appearance, but he was still involved in the camp. Made a senior team and eventually got into the game. But he had a very good season and started off hot. Tolkien, I think, eventually had, more of a complete season. So I think either one of them have the opportunity to kind of force their name into the picture in that left back pool that we have, which, I mean, as you touched before, is not as deep as what we'd like, and it's never really been deep. I mean, at one point we were running, DeMarcus Beasley out there. So, I mean, it's always been a position that it's never been a strength for us. So, I mean, they definitely, both of them have the opportunities to kind of make their mark.
Run DMB. So yeah, and I forgot to mention Caleb Wiley is also going to be on that Olympic roster for this summer. So another player to look for. So let's move on to the midfielders. The first midfielder we're going to mention is going to be one of the players that has the closest ties to San Antonio FC. That's Joshua Atencio with Seattle Sounders. He actually played against San Antonio FC twice. He helped beat us 5-1 and lost, and I guess helped lose to us. That's a weird way of saying that. 3-0. Fun fact, Justin Dillon had 2 goals one of those games. So JD killing us in 2019. Hopefully that's not a sign of things to come in this coming San Antonio FC season. But Joshua Atencio obviously came up through the Tacoma Defiance ranks, and now he is playing with the Seattle Sounders. So pretty exciting to see him get a call up. We also have Aziel Jackson with St. Louis City SC. Jack McGlynn is definitely a name that gets thrown around a lot amongst the U.S. crowd. He really starred in the U20 World Cup. I believe that was last year. He plays his club ball with the Philly Union, and he's also going to be on the Olympic squad coming up this summer. We also have Aiden Morris, who's a MLS 2023 MLS Cup champion with the Columbus Crew. We have Timothy Tillman, who's actually a German youth product, interestingly enough. He plays his club ball with LAFC. And he is the brother of Malik Tillman, who is a kind of a I don't want to say he's obviously not a regular with the national team, but he has a potential of being there. He's been called up a few times, and Malik Tillman plays his club ball at PSV, and he's actually in the Champions League round of 16. So that's interesting, and we'll see what Timothy shows out here. And we also have Sean Zawadski with the Columbus Crew. Any notes or comments on the midfield squad for this roster?
For me, I think the one that I'm kind of more interested in, you're probably going to enjoy this, Royce, is Jackson. I think he, during this past MLS season, really kind of showed St. Louis the potential that he had. So he started getting more and more time, and I think he brings a different dynamic to the group. Aiden Morris is one that was in the Gold Cup in the past summer. Eventually had to withdraw for personal reasons. And Atencio is also one that's interesting as well because of the potential talent that he has and he's able to bring. I was surprised that we didn't get some different midfielders. In speaking with Atencio, I mean, there's also a kind of a Sounders teammate that he has, an Obed Vargas, who would fit the criteria for an MLS camp and potentially could represent the U.S. in the Olympics. So it was interesting that there was some faces that I personally thought maybe could have made it that didn't.
So a couple of things here. Rise of the USL. Is Slovenia taking their A team? No, because this isn't a FIFA approved window, I don't believe. I think they are also bringing a young team, and I did find some information from them, which we can talk about later. For me, I want to see Timothy Tillman for him to make the change from Germany to the United States is a big commitment on his side. And Malik, as you mentioned, Royce is, according to U.S. Soccer's, played for the U.S. men's national team on 8 occasions. So to me, I'm kind of interested to see what he can do and the growth that he has. And then Jack McGlynn, I felt like even I've heard of him. Now, obviously, I'm around the USL circles, and his name has been on the radar for, I know they mentioned 2020, with Philadelphia Union in 2020, but his name was even before then, probably with Bethlehem Steel back in those days. But to me, I want to see Timothy Tillman for me personally.
Yeah, that'll be interesting. It'll be cool to see Jack McGlynn for sure. I saw him on the U20 squad, and like I said, he really starred for that squad. Everything kind of went through Jack McGlynn going forward, distributing to either Cade Cowell or Diego Luna, who we'll cover here in a little bit. But the forward crew that we have going is Esmir Baraktarovic with the New England Revolution. He's also going to be on the Olympic squad. Bernard Camongo with FC Dallas, also going to be on the Olympic squad. Duncan McGuire with Orlando City SC, also Olympic squad. Brian White with the Vancouver Caps. We had Cade Cowell originally in this roster. He has been released from the roster as he is he's signing with Chivas, the Guadalajara. So that's pretty cool for him. That's very interesting because Chivas has always had a policy of just signing Mexican players, just signing Mexican national team players. And they've slightly changed that policy to include kind of guys on the periphery of Mexico. Maybe their grandparents are from Mexico. So they've really kind of put themselves in the corner there, and they've kind of released that. So we'll see how Cade does. His numbers really weren't that great with San Jose last season, but in the U20 World Cup, he kind of rocked in that thing.
Hey, he's got a new look too.
He was always dangerous. Yeah, that blonde mullet. We'll see how that lasts. Well, you know what? Let's see who's willing to bet money that Chicharito adopts that look as well, since he's also going to Chivas. So
my God.
anyway,
Tee-hee.
But Cade Cowell's very cool. He has a very unique connection with San Antonio FC and Toyota Field as well. He scored his first professional goal at Toyota Field, playing for Reno 1868 against San Antonio FC when he was 15. So very impressive. Definitely a great soccer talent, and we'll see how he does in Mexico. I guess this coming season in the is it the Apertura this season, right? Right.
Yep.
Clausura's at the end of the year. Did I get that right? Yeah. Anyway, we'll see how he does with Chivas. Good luck, Cade. And last but not least, the last forward that we're gonna go through, who it's definitely gonna be a starter here, is Diego Luna. Everybody who's a San Antonio FC fan for the last few years knows who Diego Luna is. He plays for Real Salt Lake now. He came up through El Paso Locomotive. Very hated player with El Paso Locomotive. Scored quite a few goals against San Antonio FC for El Paso Locomotive. He was also a U20 World Cup starter, and he actually really impressed on the international stage. So I'm pretty excited to see where his career goes forward, especially with the U.S. men's national team. Renee, you have any comments on the forward group?
Oh man, I love Diego. He stands out to me the most out of this roster. I don't know if I like him in that 9 role, maybe like in a 10. He's dangerous. He's going to be dangerous if he's allowed to play and have the liberty to play the way he wants. He's dangerous.
He's a playmaker, absolutely. Robert,
Yeah.
you have any comments on the forward core?
Well, I mean, as Matt kind of alluded to before, I mean, I'm a Real Salt Lake fan, so my Luna love is off the charts. But for me, the two other names that stand out to me are Kamungo and in terms of what they're potentially able to bring is Baktarevich is Baktarevich because of the fact that they're both playing. They both kind of force their way into their programs. I don't know if you've read Kamungo's like backstory. It is wild and interesting. He does have a USL tie as well because he started. Family is from, I believe, Tanzania.
Tanzania, yes.
Yeah, so
Tanzania, yeah.
they were
I have read that
refugees.
story. Yeah.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Refugees settled in Abilene of all places, and him and his brother were looking for just clubs to try out for. Ended up settling in on North Texas because it was cheap to try out. Impressed enough, they signed him, and then eventually FC Dallas signed him. But he has shown some signs and flashes of brilliance. Also was on like the U23 squad a couple months ago that played friendlies against Japan and Mexico. So I think both of those guys are also forwards that I'm looking forward to. And with the departure of Cade, it kind of gives them a little bit more room to force their way into the picture.
Yeah, Abilene, Texas, the biggest little town in the world. Yeah, I have heard that story about Kamungo. I didn't put two and two together on that one. That's pretty cool to have him in town for sure. That's definitely an inspiring story. It kind of reminds me of Joshua Yarrow stories. If y'all remember, we'll see if they bring it back. But back in the day, there was a San Antonio FC podcast where you got to know the players. I really hope they bring that back, called Behind the Stripes. In one of those episodes, Josh Yarrow, former San Antonio FC player, current St. Louis City SC player, kind of talked about his youth and growing up and just kind of how he ended up here in America. And it's a pretty inspiring story. And the Kamungo family has a very similar story of being a refugee coming to the U.S. and taking a pathway through sport. So it's a definitely a very interesting story. And yeah, like Renee said, I think one of the most exciting players in this roster, especially for the San Antonio FC crowd, because he's so familiar to us, is Diego Luna. So that's definitely exciting to see. Going with that. So let's start with let's go Robert. Robert, who do you think is going to be your starting 11 for the match on Saturday?
So starting 11, I would have at goalkeeper Celentano. I edged out again, probably going to be subbed out at half. But I think for defensively wise, I think Berhalter is going to go with the more veteran defense to kind of help the team and try to preserve a victory. So I think you have Shaq Moore at right back. You'll have Robinson and Sands in the middle at center back. And then you would have, I think Tolkien will end up starting at left back with Wiley coming in later on. In the midfield, I would look at the trio, and I'm basing this off of a 4-3-3. So it would be Timothy Tillman, Aiden Morris, and I think McGlynn will also round out that three. Now, surprise out of that, I think Jackson could start ahead of McGlynn. But those would be my midfield. And then as far as your three attackers. Now, Diego Luna does also play out wide for Real Salt Lake at times. He's given the flexibility to roam. I think they would also kind of give him the same leverage in this. So I would have Diego Luna out on the left. McGuire from Orlando would be your 9 as a striker, and then I think Kamungo would start out on the right side. Now, if they were to switch positions, I mean, in formations, because Berhalter has shown in the last couple of camps that he's kind of willing to maybe work with a 10 instead of going with the traditional 4-3-3. If that were the case, then I could see them starting, say, Aiden Morris and Tillman as your kind of holding mids, with Diego Luna sitting in front of them as a more of attacking role. And then you would bring in Vakovic as the other left-sided winger.
Yeah, that'll be interesting to see the folds there, and assume it's going to definitely depend on Slovenia and kind of what they look like for sure. You mentioned that Diego Luna does like to have that left wing and likes to dribble inside and kind of cover as a 10 and have, whoever's playing that 9 kind of go out to the left and take over that left wing as he dribbles inside. Diego Luna definitely likes that Christian Pulisic position. That's what kind of Christian does for the national team. He'll start out left, he'll dribble inside, and you have kind of that fluid formation going. So that'll be something interesting to see with Luna on the field. Renee, who do you think is going to be, who do you have marked down as your starting 11 for the match on Saturday?
So I'd say starting for the goalkeeper, I'm the same, man. I'm for Celentano to start. I still like Hollander coming in after to see how that goes. I like Dewan James on the left, Sands and Robinson in the middle, Token out on the right back. But again, I'll be honest with you, I don't follow MLS too much, but just from what I see on these notes here, I still think we're taking a gamble on these style of players. But I think if we go into this would for me, it would be a 4-2-3-1 playing with 2 holding mids. I would say get Joshua Asensio and get McGlynn in the two holding positions, maybe one attacking into an 8. Get Tillman out wide, get Azio out wide as well. And then for me on the forwards, just thinking kind of crazy here, is Camargo would play in the 9, but he would shift out right or left, allow Diego to play more in front of the goal. And then you bring in the other side, the other wingers, and maybe bring in the 8 in behind. Diego needs people to play around him because he's a tiki-taki kind of player, and he wants the ball back, and he'll move the ball around, and he'll move the ball. He's very fluid, very dynamic in the middle. The speed of Camargo going out wide and stretching out that back line allows Diego to get in behind. That's just me. So I think that would be a solid lineup. If Berhalter wants to be a little bit more creative, add a little bit more excitement to the game, I think we do it that way.
Fair enough. I like some of those ideas. Matt, you want to get in on this? Guessing the starting 11? Nope, not at all.
Man,
Harry,
I'm not that good with these guys. So let's let Harry do it.
Sure. Harry, you want to proffer a guess, or you want to move it on to me?
I'll give it to you, but I do,
give us some notes. Give us some comments. Come on.
I just don't want Diego Luna to score. I'm sorry. I'm just the SAFC fan in me, bro. That's the SAFC fan in me.
That's fair.
It's for the national team.
For the national team. It's gonna be tough cheering for him. It's gonna be
dude,
tough.
I had to remove him, dude. Come on.
Hey, it's just one El Paso player, bro. It's one El Paso player. I can't have it.
He's from California, though. He's not from El Paso.
No, but I'm saying a pre-El Paso player, man. Like, I can't have it.
It's
It
tough.
could be anybody else. I'm just not an El Paso player.
It's tough. It's tough not to remember his face in an El Paso jersey. That's fair.
You're not gonna like the jersey I'm wearing then on Saturday. Then
To me,
shit.
I think Luna's a guaranteed start.
No, but he's good. No, I'll say that he's good. Seeing the play when he was with the LAFC, I'm telling you, when LAFC was playing Dynamo, I was shitting bricks when he was getting close to that goal. So, yeah, I think he's gonna be something good for y'all when it comes to it. I mean, I can see him moving up even to maybe B team. I don't know if I mean y'all know the USA team more, but I could see him going at least somewhere within the B team.
he's definitely going. He's definitely going to make. He's going to be on the Olympic roster for sure.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah,
without a doubt. Yeah.
So here's my question. If you had to pick one to be a start, Brian White at 27, which is the oldest, or Esmer
Burek Terovich.
From the Revolution, do you think Berhalter goes with the youth, or do you think, because he did bring in Brian White, at 27 to try to see what he has I guess that would be my question. I don't know who starts. I don't know these players well enough. I don't know what coach is looking for enough to be able to put together an educated guess. But to me, I'd be kind of interested to see, because there's a great mix on the forwards between that 27 and an 18-year-old in Esmer to kind of see how that plays into this camp and being able to kind of lead up for all the future competitions this summer.
I personally think Esmer is more of a true 9, and that's something the U.S. national team has a hard time locking in a role for that player, for that type of player, and I think you get that with Esmer. If that's why Berhalter is bringing him in as being that and then bringing in Brian, maybe Brian just more kind of a leadership role in that experience. But I think Esmer will probably be that player. He'll be that true 9.
And just to kind of round it out, who I think is going to be starting, I think it'll be interesting to see the goalkeeper. I think y'all are right with Celentano. I would like to see Schulte start just for the little show me connection there, but I do think Celentano is going to start. As for the back line, the back four, on your left side is going to be DeJuan Jones. You're going to have James Sands. You're going to have Miles Robinson. And on the right, you're going to have Shaq Moore. In the middle, I believe you are going to have Jack McGlynn. You're going to have Aiden Morris, and you're going to have Timothy Tillman. Or is it Timmy Tillman? It's Timmy Tillman on the roster. That's interesting. It's normally Timothy. Interesting little change there. And then the forward trio, you're going to have Duncan McGuire as a 9, Diego Luna out left, and Bernard Kamongo. They're on the right, which are their natural positions. So I think I reflected pretty closely to what Renee and Robert were saying as well there in the 4-3-3. So, and I think it's going to be the typical Berhalter 4-3-3 that we've come to know and love. And I think that's just what it's going to be. It's going to be the normal ball. It's going to be out of possession, a low block 4-4-2, and then getting that 4-3-3 in possession to try to counter and attack. So let's kind of move on with some of the
quick question here for you.
Go ahead,
from Rise of the USL, and I'm going to phrase it a little bit different way, because Rise of the USL asks, is this a game that should be judged harshly if they lose? I don't think the result really matters here. I think they're more looking for improvements from players, seeing what they can do. Result, I hate to say it, result doesn't matter. I know as fans we want wins, but as long as they look competitive and look like that there is some sort of plan for that here. But as far as players, is obviously for them, this game is one where they're going to be judged pretty close, right? That's why they bring all, this fresh roster in to be able to be judged to see who can take the next step. Is that fair to say? Not necessarily on a result level, but on an individual level.
That's very fair. I mean, because historically the camp is it's a kind of a platform that the staff uses to give MLS players an opportunity to come in, kind of show the staff what they've done. And you've had, I mean, some guys come in who were predominantly MLS guys, kind of come in, make an impression, and then eventually go on to make moves outside of MLS and into other leagues across the world, but then also prove their worth and push themselves into the lineup for the senior team. So I mean, just for example, I mean last year this time there was two games the last camp where they lost to Serbia and then they tied a Colombian team. So it's again, results are nice, but it's more about the development for these camps and giving these guys opportunities.
Yeah, same. I don't think the results on the field with how the players look in the system and how they look playing with their teammates, that's the more important thing than actually goals. Goals are great. Goals going in are great. Goals not going in our goal, even better. The biggest thing is how do they play off each other? How do they look in the system? Do they look comfortable in the system? And is there a possibility that they have the speed and the skill to go forward with other rosters with different players in the same system? Like I said, the fullback is definitely going to be a position that is open this summer and next summer for roster spots throughout the U.S. Center back, I mean, Tim Ream he's my age. He's getting pretty close to hanging him up. So there's always going to be that center back position that might be open pretty soon. Forwards, number 9. If we could nail down a number 9, then that would be a miracle. So that's always an open thing. And like I said, form is fleeting, but form is one of those things that's so important going into anyone in the position. Same, and like I said, same thing, goalkeeper. Matt Turner's your starter now, but like I said, 2 years ago, it was Zach Steffen was your starter, and he didn't even, I don't even think he didn't start a game in the World Cup, and he was going to be the nail-on starter for the 4 years prior to that. So you never know how quickly things can change. So definitely something to look at for that.
And I will say before we move on to the events here, I did go to Slovenia's national team site, found some information here where they did talk about, they did mention that Mitja Elinek, who plays for New York City FC, will join the national team in San Antonio. And then Mark Zabogovic, who plays with Solani. For that here, he was excited. Adrian Zelfgis, and then forward Andres Zomberger, who played against Romania and San Ramiro, are the 3 of the players, according to the Slovenia national team website, kind of pointing out, I guess, 4 that to kind of be able to look at. A defender, Adrian is a tall midfielder, and then forward Andres. For that here, interesting news: Slovenia had their last training today. And in the wee hours of Wednesday, which is probably coming up very soon, they will travel to Houston via Frankfurt and then from there to San Antonio. So just, I know we don't have a lot of information. I couldn't find a lot of information on Slovenia, but it does look like that they did highlight 3 players and as well as a New York City player that will be joining his national team in San Antonio here for that.
Yeah, and at the same rate, Harry, we're just gonna go to you solo.
Yeah, it's all about me.
Perfect.
I did the work.
No, and also this U.S. camp played a closed door friendly against Argentinian side River Plate, and that game ended in a 2-2 draw. Obviously, that was closed doors, so there is zero information about it. Don't know who scored the goals. Don't know who scored against us. Don't know the lineup. So speculate all you want on that one. Okay, Robert.
Atencio
Did you have a
scored.
spy? Did you have a spy in there?
Atencio scored, and the second goal was Brockovich. It was Brockovich. It was Atencio and the Brockovich who scored.
Fair enough. Fair enough. Yeah, I just have the roster for. Yep, I just have the roster for River Plate on here, and the goal scored by River Plate on their Twitter account. So no clue as the U.S., but I do believe that was Brockovich and Atencio, which is exciting because Atencio, one of the guys that has a direct connection with the San Antonio FC in this roster. So very cool. So let's move on from the roster. Let's move on from the squad itself, and let's talk about the event. The reason that we have Renee, one of the reasons besides the expertise on the U.S. men's national team, that we have Renee and Robert on the pod for is to go over the tailgate and the pregame festivities. Robert, do you want to talk about real quick the event at the Cottage the night before, which for those of you who aren't really well versed in the American Outlaws kind of group, the night before is always the party, the big party, literally the night before the game. Always exciting to go to. Robert, take it away.
Yeah, so I mean, the night before is just it's an event that happens at every game. So generally, it's the host chapter for that city hosting the party at their chapter bar. So for us, I mean, we're up on deck. So it'll be Friday night at the Cottage over on Broadway. If you've never been there, it's actually right across the street from the Whitty. It's a great little spot in terms of it has a full bar, full kitchen, family friendly, so you can definitely bring your kids if you wanted to come and hang out. But we'll have members not just from San Antonio, but you'll also have national American Outlaw members who have traveled in for the game. So we do anticipate we're going to have a pretty heavy mixture of a lot of Texas chapters. So you'll probably see some faces from other USL teams. I mean, I know Matt's not going to like it, but there are going to be some El Paso Locomotive guys that are going to be there, not just the night before, but also at the tailgate. So it's definitely open to everybody. I mean, you don't necessarily have to be a member to come out and join. They have great, again, they mentioned food, full kitchen, great food, and they will be having a special $5 draft beers for AO members.
$5?
Yep.
Damn.
For AO members there, Matt.
Hey,
All right.
nobody said I can't tip in the $5, bro.
Sounds great.
Come hang out. I'll get you a beer.
That sounds awesome. At the Cottage, there across Broadway from the Whitty. And then I guess let's move on to the tailgate itself. I believe we have some breaking news for the tailgate and the festivities just prior to the game. Renee, do you want to fill in on that a little bit about what your group has planned for the tailgate?
Yeah. So basically, we'll just be out at the tailgate. We'll probably start early as we can to get out there. We'll be giving out these little badges, just like a little commemorative badge. Doesn't matter what affiliation you're with. Just we're gonna give out a badge. It represents what we believe is BATA 76. Obviously San Antonio. The match itself, it's got the commemorative date of the match on the button. So the first 50 guys in their fan gear will get a badge, and we'll be out there. There's a little surprise that we have coming up also. So you'll just have to be at the tailgate in order to experience that. So it'll be quite unique. What I believe is going to be something unique to San Antonio. It blends in definitely the community of San Antonio and basically, I guess, Texas in general, South Texas. So hopefully that resonates with the fans at the tailgate and we get motivated for the match. We are going to do not to steal the thunder from Robert or anything like that, but we are doing a kind of a what we call a previa. Vamos a la previa. We're going to have a meet and greet the night before as well. We're going to have ours at Tony's Siesta. So we'll be out there. They're off of Brooklyn over there near I guess, Bentley's. I don't know if you're familiar with Bentley's, just near there on the opposite side in that little shopping center area there. So we'll be out there the night before, but yeah, so got a couple of surprises coming up. And it's going to be kind of cool. You now have 2 chapters in San Antonio, representing, the U.S. men's national team. And that just makes it even better. I think San Antonio needs to be on the map nationally, internationally, and I'm just here to continue the legacy, man.
Absolutely, we are the 7th largest city in the state,
Yeah.
so you'd think our footprint would be recognized a little bit more. That's exciting. Tony Bara 76's U.S. men's national team pregame party there at Tony's Siesta. They're off Brooklyn. Google it if you don't know where it is. It'll come up. Great
Yeah,
place.
it's pretty easy. Yeah, local spot.
Awesome. And Robert, do you want to let us know about what the tailgate plans are for the tailgate party before the match?
The tailgate plan for us, I mean, it's going to be very similar to what SAFC fans have come to expect. So it's going to be very similar. I mean, we're still ironing out the final details with the national AO leadership, but that's something that I would say to just plan on it being more of a traditional tailgate. Means eating, drinking, and probably going to be in the time frame of about like 10:30 to about 12:45, 1-ish, as far as that time frame for it to go. I mean, we're going to get that information out as soon as possible, and but it's going to be it's not going to deviate that much from what majority of SAFC fans have come to experience before.
That sounds great. Sounds great. Definitely looking forward to that. And yeah, Hector's on here. I was going to bring that up right now. I hope those buttons come with a free hand warmer, because the forecast as of right now for Saturday's match, according to KSAT weather here, thank you KSAT, not a sponsor, but hey, we love you as a sponsor. Saturday, January 20th, 0% chance of precipitation. Knock on wood on that one. That would be great for everybody. But morning freeze, increasing clouds during the day, high of 48, winds northeast at 10 to 15 miles an hour. So it's going to be kind of a chilly one there at Toyota Field. So bring your parkas, bring your blankets. It's going to be a chilly one.
There's one quick question, real quick. Who needs a standout performance? Robert, Royce.
So I wouldn't necessarily say that anybody needs a standout performance. What I would say is the ones who have the most experience. So you're talking about like Robinson, Sands, Shaq Moore, the guys who have made appearances with the senior team already. It's more of a detriment if they don't have good performances and they look bad, that it then becomes into this whole thing of, okay, do we need to even be bringing them into the mix moving forward? So I don't think that there's anybody who needs a stand-up performance. The elder statesmen are ones who they cannot afford to have a bad performance. In terms of the younger guys, I mean, I think if guys like Luna come out and have a great game, that's just going to come out and further cement what a lot of people have been saying about them for months, that they're kind of the next thing in line. But I don't necessarily think that there's anybody in particular that needs it. I mean, there's definitely people who have come out of nowhere and at these camps and have had great games and kind of forced themselves into the picture.
Royce, your thoughts on anybody that needs to stand out or is there somebody maybe kind of to turn it? Is there somebody that could really hurt their future with a poor performance?
I mean, for sure, any of the kids that are on the Olympic team, they're definitely going to be under a microscope. And also, like I said, this camp is really big for fullback potential. Just with the regular men's national team, I think that's kind of going to be the most scrutinized positions, the right back and the left back position. Like Robert said, Serginho Dest is suspended coming up in the Nations League, so there's going to be a couple spots there available for right back or possibly left back. So that'll be something to watch for sure. And I think that those are going to be the most, like I said, scrutinized and the most paid attention to positions in this camp. As far as midfield goes, the three guys that are going to be starting are pretty clearly the three guys that are going to be starting. And the same thing with the forward group. The three guys starting are pretty obviously going to be the three guys starting. So I think the most important thing, you're going to have your two center backs. You're going to sub in a couple others, but the fullback is really going to be those two positions, right back and left back. Those are going to be the most important positions in this camp.
Honestly, had Cade Cowell remained in camp, I think I would have said he needed a stand-up performance, just because he had not had a great season in MLS. It was kind of, I mean, subpar. But I mean, he's secured his move and he's on to hopefully bigger things in Mexico. So, I mean, that's the only one that I would have said maybe potentially needed to have a send out.
I completely agree with you. And even in the U20 World Cup last year, he wasn't really that strong. He would dribble, he'd go out on his own, and then he'd just have some wild shots. And that's kind of a very similar profile of what he did with San Jose last season. Is he would finally get that open space, he would get a good dribble, and then he'd have no finishing product. So his numbers definitely suffered. So we'll see how he does there in Mexico with Guadalajara, with Chivas. But I think that's a really good point from you, Robert.
So one last thing before we get out of here. Before we do final thoughts here, we'll start with you, Renee. If people are interested in joining Barara 76 San Antonio, how and where, and if they want to get in touch with you, what's the best way to do that?
They can get in touch with us through our Facebook page. Matter of fact, Bada 76 is in the process of working out opportunity to basically we're creating a new membership base program, and we're actually working on the kinks on that. But for the most part, you can go to the national website. It's just bada76.com. You can just go there. We don't have, similar to like what you have with AO, where you can go to a drop down, you can find your chapter. Right now, they're trying to solidify those things with, there's like 6 or 7 official chapters, but there's, outliers that are out there that are also leading the way. But basically, you can reach out to me. Most importantly, just reach out to the Facebook or the Instagram page. Basically, Bada 76 San Antonio on both of those. Yeah, that's the best way. Or you can go to my regular page. You can look up for me, Renee Medellin. You can find me on Facebook. I'm public.
And Robert, how about you with American Outlaws San Antonio chapter? I know they're a big national chapter as well, but obviously we want to promote San Antonio, promote local. So here's your shot for AO San Antonio.
So it's something that you can go and on the website, the national website, the AmericanOutlaws.com. You can find the option for the chapters listed to look and find your chapter in whatever city you may mean. Even if you may not want to be the San Antonio chapter, if you're, say, from a different city and you want to support your home chapter, I mean, you can definitely go in and do that as well. We'll also have, you can also reach out to us on all of our social media accounts. We have Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter account. As well as at the game and at the night before. We'll have also links and QR codes that you can actually utilize as well if you want to sign up. That's something that you can also definitely take advantage of that opportunity at that time.
So we'll start with final thoughts. We'll start with you, Matt, MLS Matt, Mexico Matt.
Hey. Easy. Easy. Throw me under the bus, my guy. Nah, man, it's just getting the opportunity to drum for a national team. It's gonna be something I can get to check off my to-do list. So can't wait to see how it goes. I mean, like you said, not my colors, but hey, I don't mind doing it. Not for a bunch of friends. Hey, I'd do it any day for with you guys. So can't wait to see party with y'all and just have a great time at the tailgate and inside the match.
And Jason, quick question: are you talking about AO or Barara 76? And speaking of Jason, he's chimed in as well. It's not cold, crybabies. Try living through a nice storm, dude. You've been in Portland for 1 day, dude. 1 day. Come on. And what's up from Portland? It was fun following you on Facebook with your travels. I'm glad that you're at your new residence, and thank you for all that you did for San Antonio FC, for the supporters groups here in San Antonio, Crocketeers, FTC. You will be missed, my friend, for that. Here, so,
there is an AO Portland chapter. I can confirm that.
Well, Jason's the new Timbers fan, right? Mr. Seattle. I'm assuming he'll be a new Timbers fan.
Not. He's a
Sounders.
Sounder.
Well, he's in Portland, dude. If you wanted to be a Sounders fan with Boeing, he could have went up to Seattle. So we know how Jason is.
Hey, history wasn't my best. Sorry.
little breaking news there for Robert. Raise your hand if you hate Nate Miller, former San Diego Loyal coach who crapped on Senate. Yeah, he's now assistant coach for Real Salt Lake. So yikes. Oh no. That's my final thought. No, I'm joking. No, honestly, I'm my final thought real quick. I'll get it out of the way. I'll give the runway to Renee and Robert. This will be my second U.S. men's national team game. The first one was there in the Alamo Dome. I've been to a couple women's games at the Alamo Dome. They played Australia. They played Trinidad and Tobago. So it's always exciting. Love, dressing up in all the red, white, and blue I can find and going and cheering for them. My favorite team is the U.S. men's national team. I always follow the players with whatever clubs they're at. My ESPN app is always following Juventus, not following Chelsea anymore. AC Milan, just wherever the national team players go, that's where I'll follow. And that's where, I watch soccer besides San Antonio FC. San Antonio FC is my home club. That's what I watch. And that's my team. But other than that, it's the U.S. men's national team and watching the players grow up. And it's always exciting to see them when they come back to town. And I'm really excited to see them at Toyota Field. Honestly, never thought it would happen. And I'm excited that it is going to happen. So it's great.
What'd you do to Rafa, Royce?
I didn't do anything. He needs to cut his hair and get better opinions, but I didn't do anything, man. And Everton I followed because Tim Howard was there for the longest time, and I just kind of fell in love with that club. It's one of those real, blue collar clubs, and I really like the atmosphere, I like the fans. I really resonated with them a lot. Obviously, they had Landon Donovan with them. Tim Howard was their longest tenured player ever. He was just surpassed by Seamus Coleman this past week for most caps for the club. So I do still support Everton, but my number one team is the U.S. men's national team. Like, what am I going to tell you? That's the absolute truth. So looking forward to it.
Team should be SAFC, my guy.
That's my club team. My favorite team is U.S. men's national team. Calm down there, MLS Matt. So I'm going to give you all the runway. Renee, your final thoughts leading up to the match on Saturday.
No, I think this is always a good opportunity when you have these January camps coming into this this friendly match. You have an opportunity to see the young players coming up in the ranks, giving them the opportunity to shine. Blended in with some of these the senior players, right? So just maybe finding new dynamics in these formations. Maybe we change from the 4-3-3 to the 4-2-3-1. So things like that. Hopefully, Berthalter is looking to change minds again, looking to change minds in the eyes of the armchair analysts like ourselves. And I've been coaching for 25 years, and I mean, and always had a heart for the national team. And so I've seen different identities take place with the different coaching styles. And I've always said that, you have to respect the coaching style, especially if it's coming from the US, from the US ranks, right? So as much as I don't always like Bert Halter, I'm still there to cheer on my national team. So and then what better way to do it this way? At the same time, build the community of San Antonio, keep on growing the game of soccer here, and I love it, man. It's like you said, it is my favorite team. Although I follow Manchester United. Not too many U.S. players on there, but they did have a U.S. coach, so I will say that. So we did have a U.S. coach, a little bit of a run in there for a bit.
I like this guy.
So
I'm not United.
Yeah, hey, I got to bring him up. Yeah, so, but no, appreciate the opportunity tonight. But
You're not gonna find it, Harry. You're not gonna find it. You're not gonna find it.
No,
What you mean? You mean
what
this one here? My Newcastle.
Yeah, get that
the
other thing
the
out of
real
there.
United.
Yeah, get
No,
that thing out of there.
according-
Cover that up. No, but I appreciate you guys a lot. And I think the support is good here in San Antonio. I think soccer is going to continue to grow. San Antonio FC is doing well. Is doing good. I mean, the legacy is there. We established a good identity. So I'm going to support them 100%.
Awesome,
So
man.
thank you guys. I appreciate that for all y'all guys.
Thank you, Renee.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Renee.
Thanks, Renee. And a real quick Google search: Manchester is blue. Robert, your final thoughts.
So I will echo that. I have a similar sentiment for you, Royce. I mean, the U.S. is my club. I don't have the European team, so I mean, I'll watch the sport just because I love the game, but I don't put my stock in. Oh, this is my European team. I have more of a connection with the U.S. So much that like Saturday's game will be my 70th U.S.
Oh wow.
Men's game that I've attended, and that's all over the U.S., Canada, Mexico, Spain, Germany. It's Grenada. I've traveled a while, so it's just something I look forward to. U.S. soccer is a passion of mine, and I definitely am excited that we're bringing this to our hometown of San Antonio, and being able to give the city kind of a glimpse of what the sport is and what it can be moving forward.
And my final thought is, Rafa, please no, I don't want to ruin my scarf wall with the Real Madrid scarf for that here. But to me, I want to give a huge thank you to Matt with FTC, James with the Crocketeers, Stuart with 210 Alliance, Renee and Robert, obviously with Mariah 76 and AO San Antonio. I've talked, even today I was talking with James, I was talking, with Matt. I know Matt and you guys have been working together for 7 weeks to put this together. And I know I've reached out to Renee. He's been putting together his stuff. To be able to host an event like this is an honor. And for San Antonio, for us to be able to show up, even in chilly weather, it's a big thing for San Antonio soccer. Both for the men's and hopefully for the women's game as well, because I would like to see more U.S. women's national teams here. I'd like to see more professional women's soccer here in San Antonio. Not that I don't love the Athenians, but I would love to see an NWSL or a USL Super League team here as well here. I won't really get into the politics of the U.S. men's national team or along those lines here, but I do think, if you go to the tailgates and you see James Hope, you see Matt, you see Robert, you see Renee, tell them thank you, because they've put and they've got a whole support staff, but behind them, but they are putting in a lot of effort to be able to put together the pregame, the night, the night before events there, to be able to show San Antonio is a great supporter of soccer for U.S. men's national team. And yes, Rafa, when Mexico comes, I know you guys do a great job of promoting Mexico as well here in San Antonio. But like I said here, San Antonio deserves better. We'll leave the politics out of it. But that's it for me. But huge thank you to James, Matt, Renee, Robert, and Stuart for all the efforts and time and that you put into getting ready to host this event this weekend.
All right. We're going to head out. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for sticking with us. Let's show out San Antonio. Let's show everybody what we're made of. Nation's going to be watching. Let's show them what we can bring on. What's life without goals? Let's go USA.